Keyshawn Davis is the new WBO lightweight champion after he defeated Dennis Berinchyk with a 4th-round knockout last night in Madison Square Garden. He landed a pretty good body shot, sent him down. I mean, he was destroying Dennis Berinchyk the whole fight, and that was expected going into this fight. However, it was impressive how it was only Keyshawn Davis' 13th career fight. Dennis Berinchyk, an older guy, turned pro very late, decorated amateur, pretty solid pro career, but how he was champion was beyond me. Of course, had that sloppy split decision win against Emmanuel Navarrete last year, but, I didn't think he was going to win. I didn't think he was going to hold that belt for a while. We have those champions from time to time where they get that sloppy win, they get that vacant belt, but they don't really deserve it that much. But, they're still champ. They still deserve good shots. They still deserve good fights and money fights. But a guy like Keyshawn Davis, a young, hungry prospect who I knew from the jump he was going to be good, a very talented fighter. I knew he was going to eat Dennis Berinchyk alive, but the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF titles are still on the line, and the lightweight division is still stacked. Of course, WBC is held by Shakur Stevenson, WBA is held by Tank Davis, IBF is held by Lomachenko, and of course now WBO is Keyshawn Davis, a stacked division. That brings up the question, just how far could Keyshawn Davis go? Right off the jump, I want to call out to people who are saying, take it easy. Don't rush it with Keyshawn Davis. Don't feed him to the wolves just yet. I don't like that. If you're good enough to become champion, if you're a champion, you could get it. Anybody could get it, right? You deserve to fight anybody, righty? So don't give me that. Don't feed him to the wolves yet. He's champion. He's obviously good enough to be champion. If he has to fight Tank, so be it. Shakur, so be it. Loma, so be it. Alrighty, but let's start with Shakur Stevenson, okay? Those guys are, I feel like, friends, right? I mean, they're in a tight circle, it's a tight team. But of course, that fight could happen. I think Shakur Stevenson outboxes Keyshawn Davis pretty good. The Tank Davis fight, which is the fight that has the most rumors with Keyshawn Davis and Tank, I don't think Keyshawn Davis beats Tank either. Tank will probably stop him. And then Lomachenko, which we don't know where he's at, right? I mean, he hasn't fought in almost a year now. Was supposed to fight Gervonta Davis at the end of the year last year. Backed out, just didn't feel like fighting. I'm not going to say he's ducking just yet. I mean, he ducked there, yes, but an overall duck, to say that his career is over, to say he's retired, I think if he was going to retire, he would have done it already. I don't think he would have just held the belt, hold the speculation just to retire later. I think we'll still see Loma again, but I don't know when. And if he was to fight Loma, I think that would be his best fight, his closest fight, Keyshawn Davis with Loma, because Loma's older now. 5 years ago, obviously Loma simply outpoints Keyshawn Davis, but right now, I think if Keyshawn Davis was to become unified, it would be Lomachenko. I think also that's the easiest fight to be made because, well, they're both two top-ranked fighters, and I don't know. I think that would be the best case scenario for Keyshawn Davis if he wants to unify. But just because, he's not ready for Tank and Shakur, I just don't think he's simply better than them. That's it. I mean, the only way he'll be ready for them is when they get older and they just lose what they got and Keyshawn Davis gets better. But, Keyshawn Davis is a champ. Anybody can get it. He's not beating Shakur Stevenson. He's not beating Gervonta Davis. It just is what it is. That's what happens kind of when you do start early and you become champion early, right? You're more exposed. But, of course, we see in history where fighters who become champion early, they still get those mandatories. They fight the mandatories before they go off and unify. But the narrative has shifted in boxing where we expect to see the best fight the best, right? I mean, if everybody wants to praise Turkey for making these big fights, well, then let's stick with that. Let's stick with that, right? If you're a champion, then you should be trying to unify. If you're a champion, you should be defending against the best guys, okay? So, listen, if that narrative wants to shift, well, you got to pick one. Is it, let Keyshawn Davis fight his mandatories and build up his more experience, build up his resume more before he gets a shot at Keyshawn, before he gets a shot at Shakur Stevenson or Tank Davis, even though he's champion? Or, all right, Keyshawn Davis is champion now. Let's try to unify. Let's have Keyshawn Davis fight the best. Let's make that Loma fight. Let's make that Gervonta Davis fight. Let's make that Shakur Stevenson fight. You got to pick one. Let him build his resume still, or have him fight the best. I'm rolling with having him fight the best now. You're champion. If you really want to get boxing to be good again, fix boxing, we got to, of course, make these guys fight the best. He can't be holding up the division like a lot of the other lightweights have been. Loma's been holding up the division with his IBF title, I'll admit. I'm a Loma fan, but he's been holding up the belt, of course. Not fighting. And then not saying anything about anything, right? We haven't heard from Loma really at all. Gervonta Davis. Fighting Lamont Roach. A super featherweight. How's that fair, right? How's that good for the division? How's that good for boxing? Shakur Stevenson. He was holding out for a while, fighting Floyd Schofield. Floyd's a good fighter, right? But Shakur's going to beat him 9-3. So I really hope Keyshawn Davis doesn't hold the division up. He had his fight in February 14th, last night, Valentine's Day. I mean, that was his 13th career fight, still young. Realistically, he should have at least 2 more fights by the end of the year, okay? I'd like to see 1 at least fight as mandatory, sure. But then, by the end of the year, he should at least have a unification bout, whether that's against Shakur, whether that's against Tank, whether that's against Loma. And it all lines up perfectly because Shakur's fighting next week, Tank's fighting in 2 weeks, and Loma, I mean, he's ready whenever. He should be ready whenever. So that would make the most sense, alrighty, to get at least 2 more fights the rest of the year, and one of them has to be for unification bout. If he wants to get 1 defense, sure. But he has to be getting a unification bout by the end of the year. I'd like to see that. I mean, who am I? I don't know. I'm a boxing fan, but that'd make the most sense because he's young. Take advantage of it. He has the potential. How far could he go? He could go pretty far. He could fight up to super welterweight and win titles. Get after it. Don't hold up the division. Hopefully Top Rank treats him right, unlike Terrence Crawford. Another thing I pointed out last night on Instagram, which I thought was pretty cool. I might be dragging it, but Keyshawn Davis and Terrence Crawford reminded me of Kobe and MJ, when Kobe was just a young rookie getting his name out there, becoming a star, and MJ was older, righty? Keyshawn Davis and Terrence Crawford, obviously they're trained by the same fighters, they're in the same team, so it's obviously going to be more common sense that they look alike, but their styles are so similar. Keyshawn Davis is, of course, an orthodox fighter, and then Terrence Crawford is a southpaw, but Terrence Crawford likes to switch hit sometimes too, but like just watching them, their style is different, especially now that Keyshawn Davis cut his hair. He looks almost identical to a young Terrence Crawford, so it's pretty cool. Pretty cool that he's in that same team. He's getting that mentorship by Bo Mack, a very good trainer. That mentorship from Terrence Crawford, obviously one of the all-time greats. So, he stays in that team. He'll be all right. But I just want to point that out, right? It's like reminding me of Kobe and MJ. I might be dragging it, but, their styles are very similar. And, of course, their accolades are similar, right? I mean, Kobe at the time was becoming a young star, young champion. And Keyshawn Davis is becoming a young star and young champion. And MJ was past his prime, but still playing pretty good basketball. And Terrence Crawford past his prime, but still boxing pretty good. So that's what I have to say with that. I know I'm probably dragging it, but let me know down in the comments what you think about Keyshawn Davis. Might be a little annoying dude, but it is what it is, right? I mean, if he's gonna keep fighting, let him. I think he's gonna go far. Super welterweight, I think he can win titles up to there. But right now, I think he could unify, only against Loma. But if he wants to fight Shakur and Tank Davis, have at it. Anything can happen in boxing. Alrighty. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Make sure to subscribe. Best boxing content on YouTube. I'm out, guys. Peace.